Hey Gary, I turned down the video quality significantly on my phone because the last time I tried to upload a video, it ended up taking like a day and a half for it to actually post itself to YouTube, so I kind of decided, fuck it. In response to your video, tonight I'm drinking house wine Riesling? German? I don't know. But nothing like a good box of wine to get you economically toasty. The kid is watching The Brave Little Toaster right now because, it was a movie that I grew up obsessing about. And so, as an adult, you just have to pass on those obsessions and terrible, terrible children's cartoon movies with bad musical performances. I can't wait until she's old enough to really get into Land Before Time as well while we're at it, because why not? Talking about stuff and junk. I know it's been a while since we last conversed on politics and since the Wisconsin primary happened, and I was in Wisconsin for when it happened. I got to see a little bit of interesting insights about it that probably didn't really get covered. Like, for example, the Green Bay offices for the Bernie Sanders campaign and the Hillary Clinton campaign were completely different and really showed in advance what was going to happen. Because the Hillary Clinton office basically was unstaffed, unmanned, had no activity, and it was almost like nobody was really given a hell to try. What's that? Come on. The kid's trying to peep for the first time. We're a little late on the peep action for Easter, but nothing like some pure grade sugar to get a kid into life and happiness. As they should be. Oh, you calm yourself. You see yourself? Yeah. Talking about the Panama Papers, a lot has come out since the video that you sent. Obviously, one of the things that's been mentioned a lot in the coverage that I've been listening to is that there's a good reason why Americans aren't prevalent in the Panama Papers, and it's that you don't really need to go to Panama as an American to stash money. There's a shell corporation set up in Delaware. There's also about 3,000 other law firms in Panama and other countries that do exactly the same thing. So the fact that there aren't a lot of Americans on the list of the Panama Papers so far really just means that they're in other countries, with other companies, and we may or may not really have any Americans that get caught up in all this. What's interesting is that the Prime Minister for Iceland has already stepped down. The Prime Minister for Ukraine has already stepped down. And there's a lot of pressure on the Prime Minister in the UK to step down as well because of all this. So, yeah, it's definitely possible that Trump could be implicated because, he's hiding his tax returns to a large extent. Oh. And he says it's because the IRS is auditing him, but the IRS has since said, yeah, that's stupid. We don't care what you do while you're being audited, and you're not being audited, because how ridiculous is it to be audited 10 years in a row? So yeah, Trump's full of shit. Surprise. And I'm walking around a lot to make sure I check your vertigo reflex to see how well you can handle it, just like the good old days. But, I suppose I should keep this relatively short because I gotta get working on the kids' dinner here pretty soon. I guess I mostly just responded to what you were talking about. I guess there isn't a whole lot new going on in my world. Oh, what's the matter? Oh, she's such a daddy's girl. She always needs to be nearby, huh? You like seeing yourself? Ooh. Yeah. When are you going to come out and meet your niece, Nellie, huh? She wants to know. She's been asking about you. I keep saying Uncle Gare Bear because I know how much you like that I'm putting that phrase on the internet. Right? Yeah. We're still waiting, I guess, for spring to come so that we can get out more on weekends. We had snow yesterday. It's still kind of sticking around a little bit, so that was fun. I remember what I was going to talk about. I'm reading a new book, and it's pretty rare for me to actually...
So Chinese.
Yeah? for me to read books. I mostly just read news and newspaper. But here's a book that I'm reading that I think you will like. Let's see if you can see that. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. So far, it's really interesting. I'm sure you've heard of it. I don't know if you've read it. Basically, it's a history book of the United States as told from the perspective of Native Americans, slaves, immigrants, and the people who weren't in power all the time. So it's a history book without the history of the state. It's the history of the people. Oh. And that's, so far it's pretty good. I've only gotten like 30 pages in, where they talk about all of the atrocities committed to and by Native Americans in the early years before the United States, and they're starting to get into slavery now too. And yeah, I look forward to reading the rest of it. So that's about it. I guess I will chat at you later, brah.